Hello and welcome to the third DAO day for LawFi Dao. The community call this morning didn't record because of technical difficulties, so this is a quick summary of what we went through for those of you that weren't able to attend and were looking forward to the recording. I am sorry for the technical difficulties. We went through some feedback on the membership form, which has now gone live. I will share screen so that you can have a walkthrough of what the experience is like as and once you've become a member of LawFi Dao. So the membership form is itself an experimental product. Now you should be seeing the JIRA page where it is still in draft, and I'll quickly walk through the structure so that you can get a sense of what to expect once you've gained membership to LawFi Dao. This page is not published yet, but once it is published, the JIRA will start to version control so that if you are reviewing and inserting your feedback, that will be, tracked by JIRA. You're then prompted to insert your name, actual or your proposed membership capacity, and the time that you've spent reviewing. There's also the function in JIRA for you to add your time. We're working through this, so if you have a better or feedback on how to do this better, we're all ears. The next section is instructions to reviewers, which is consent-based. So knowing that this is a product that will be used by LawFi Dao and perhaps even others that's dealt with further below, it's important for you to understand the consequences of you providing your feedback and your name associated with that feedback, and to provide informed consent. You can also withdraw your consent at a later time by sending an email at the moment to jp@lawfidao.com. And this is proposed to be a structure for each of the document-like products, at least, that will come through LawFi Dao. It lists some key areas for review, understandability being a key one. Even though one of the purposes of this form is to inform new members about their potential legal and tax consequences of being involved in a DAO like LawFi Dao, we always have to be critical of ourselves as lawyers, that are we speaking in too much legalese, and can we speak more plainly in plain language? The desire, of course, of a DAO is to become increasingly autonomous in our governance and our operations. So part and parcel with that is how we governance the automations and what is becoming autonomous. Engaging and diversity, you can read through the rest of the criteria should you wish to join and contribute in this way. These key areas for review will also develop. Some may or may not appear in other products of LawFi Dao, depending on what the aim of the document is. The DAO status section is a really important one because not a lot of DAOs are in the habit or have the language to express their state of decentralization or autonomousness at any one time. And so this is really a prompt as to how we can draw attention to this, put some best practice standards and structures and language around this. So it will be a regular item for discussion in both at the committee level and a number of subcommittee levels. Pay to rely being one of the things introduced by LawFi Dao, the membership form could be one of the pay to rely products, but as this DAO is forming and the formation is itself the educative and experimental exercise, it's too early to say whether it's appropriate to be one of the pay to rely products. It is subject to the conclusions of the pay to rely subcommittee. More on the subcommittee structures in the next agenda item of this update call. So then we get into each of the pages of the membership form, which I won't go through in detail because this is available on the lawfidao.com website now, which you can walk through. Some of the feedback that's come through already is people would have liked the opportunity to go through the membership form fields and questions as a Word document rather than clicking through the membership form software, just to have the time and the space to read and consider it properly without being halfway through the application. So that this text may also be dropped and available just to extract from the website with the appropriate disclaimers and the licenses that will come through below. So I'll keep clicking through. Another thing that is often missed with products and services that come through DAOs is awareness of what is the IP and any licenses that need to be put around the document and a person's use of that document or the works contained. So this proposed license is because myself, as authorised representative of the member, which is the company I work for, Blockchain and Digital Assets Proprietary Limited, as I've contributed this draft membership form in my capacity as an authorised representative of a corporate member, I have reserved the rights to keep rights in respect of this work, but provided a non-exclusive royalty-free license for specific purposes and uses of this work. So that is for a person to apply for membership with LawFi Dao, and for LawFi Dao members to review and amend the work and provide their feedback. So the paragraph below attempts to quite simply and plainly, so perhaps oversimplistically, state that if you review and amend, you become a co-author, and you also agree to be a co-author on the basis that the amended form will be licensed for use, again, for the above purposes, on a non-exclusive and royalty-free basis. The final paragraph and sentence is that the members reserve their rights to determine the terms upon which additional use of the works is granted. So this is really to maintain a laneway for the membership form in particular to be a pay-to-rely product, and that's a potential form of commercial exploitation that warrants further consideration and perhaps a further few sentences. The Creative Commons license was considered, but I don't think it's appropriate in this case, given that the membership form could possibly be one of the pay-to-rely products. We have seen of late some IP rights changes to do with NFT collections, where full commercial rights were promised to the NFT purchaser, and that's been walked back with altered IP rights and license conditions. And I think that that's very much a discussion that needs to be had within LawFi Dao. But for the purposes of getting the basic membership form out, members in, and an environment in which this discussion can occur in the protections that are afforded by the statements made in that membership application form, we needed to show a level of centralisation to issue the form and discuss it, and the next iteration of the form may reflect a more a spread of decentralisation across a number of countries with their input rather than just from an Australian perspective. So I'll close that page now and just move on to a very quick summary of the proposed committee and subcommittee structure for LawFi Dao. The committee is currently comprised of myself as President and Secretary, Vic Wells as the Vice President, and Shane Mays as Treasurer. Now, the subcommittees which will form and the Eventbrite links will be posted to commence from Friday next week. There are 4 subcommittees. The first is the establishment subcommittee, which is intended to focus working groups and discussion on all of the factors involved in establishing and beginning operations of a DAO, and quite a manual one at that, where We need to progress from manual thinking, quite centralized decisions and documents, to how we go about automating both the governance and the automation and the global spread of our membership and those taking a significantly active role in the direction and the products of the DAO. This will be different for other types of DAOs. LawFi Dao being quite operational and manual is a different set of facts and circumstances to those that perhaps are DeFi protocols, where the approach is to build and launch the code, and it's the governance of the code and any upgrades that may need to be affected by the governance token holders. This is quite different in the large operational ask of a number of the members. But we can go through all of the different structuring considerations. So this will see different working groups as part of a subcommittee. So one of the working groups will be devoted to structuring, so the legal and tax considerations across using an unincorporated association, an incorporated association, partnerships, mutuals, side service or devco labs type entities that are intended to sit separately to the activities of the DAO, and hybrid structures of sorts where we're starting to see trusts and foundations not necessarily that wrap the whole DAO, but perhaps particular functions like ownership of the IP, the trademarks, or control of the treasury or the grant-making function. The other working group will be devoted to treasury and the financial and accounting reporting function, which Shane will lead. And there's a number of people that have expressed interest in joining that to give guidance on how to start a multisig, what policies should be implemented to appoint someone to the multisig and then remove them from their appointment should a nomination change or a core contributor want to come in and out. How do you maintain continuity of such a critical role in the DAO? As well as the membership form, the discussion of the initial governing documents. So rules of the DAO / constitution / mission and vision statement, a white paper that will be part of the discussion, but there will be crossover with the white paper structure into the next subcommittee. Now that is the pay to rely / embedded regulation subcommittee, focused on really getting our automations of this DAO and striving towards an autonomously functioning system for these legal products or other professional products to be contributed and relied on by those that pay to rely. So for the legal products in particular, it might be, as we mentioned in the launch session, Australian legal opinion on whether a token is a security or a financial product from an Australian legal perspective. That might be posted by one particular law firm core contributor, and the mechanics of that process will be the subject and the focus of one of the working groups, including what the NFT needs to represent for a person that has paid to rely. A separate working group will focus on speaking with key of the legal profession bodies, which is state and territory based in Australia, to ask questions like, at the time that a token exchange pays to rely, does a cost agreement need to be entered into between the core contributor and that token exchange, or how does the peer reviewer pool come into it? If that pay to rely advice is not bespoke enough, that there is some tailoring required, can the cost agreement be tailored to go back to that core contributor to provide further bespoke advice? So all of that detail will have to be worked through, and it may be different again for professional non-legal products, of which our own white paper may be one of those things. It may be a new form of disclosure document that is very smart, so that whenever we have a DAO proposal that is voted in, we start to see in the white paper structure that on the left-hand side of the page, you've got the initial but quite instructional detail about the tokenomics, perhaps. The second column will quite visually show that proposal 2 has altered or has approved a change to the tokenomics. And then a third column for that ongoing reporting of the DAO status based on the composition of token holders that did vote. Does this mean that the all or part of the DAO is now sufficiently globally decentralized, or starts to be more centralized? So we can get an active pulse on that from a smart disclosure document with both legal input, cybersecurity input, data privacy will increasingly be important, and just a number of considerations for ease of user experience, so that somebody can easily pick up the document and interact with it and get a sense of the DAO at any one time. The self-insurance pool will also be its own working group, so that we can stress test with existing insurance providers and regulators that if part of the revenue stream from the pay to rely revenue goes into this self-insurance pool, what kind of rigor and self-prudential standards do we need to put in place if that self-insurance fund is invested to enhance the perpetuality and ability to fund claims above and beyond what revenue comes in, perhaps from pay to rely, as well as any capital that can be raised, and that might be segmented for the insurance claim processes. The third subcommittee is the NFT membership identity token, and this is to get us to that stage of truly representative democracy within our DAO and providing a framework for other DAOs to leverage that standard and to think about identity and what it means first. It's often an afterthought for DAOs, and we see a lot of experimentation across quadratic voting, quadratic governance, to try and get token weight representational across a community, but we're already seeing that it's not as diverse as it needs to be. So as part of the NFT membership token subcommittee, there'll be working groups devoted on privacy enhancing approaches to this token and how we use it. The best practice standards in digital identity and decentralized identity, such as what we heard, the W3C standard and verifiable credentials coming through. There'll be the artists and the developers that also need to help us construct for every attribute that is added to your membership token, how do we visually represent that and make it personal to you, but also easily identifiable for people to visually see your NFT and be able, or query the data linked to your NFT attributes, so that you can be pulled in to be representative for your demographic or things that make you that are also representative of other sectors of the global community. And finally, the fourth subcommittee is community building. And part of this will be a working group focused on LawFi Dao communications, both inward and outward, making sure that we are signaling and sharing our messages and education far and wide to attract more members and also share the value of what insights are being contributed to this DAO, as well as things that signal a more diverse audience. Then they may not be attracted to the technical or the legal of the other subcommittees that are a feature of LawFi Dao, but it's a softer and more welcoming way into a community in which a person may want to engage with down the track, or just would like to have a familiar face to reach out to when these things become relevant. So there's a circular merch, a circular fashion working group where Vic Wells is going to lead that one, and may even result in some merchandise for LawFi Dao, which is fully compostable. Another one is NFT children's storybooks, because a lot of people don't know what lawyers and a lot of professionals do in the day. We don't have a language that we can explain, or a lot of books to read to our 3 and 4-year-olds, or our 8-year-olds for that matter, to say exactly what we do in a day, and for them to aspire to these science, technology, engineering, mathematic careers that are quite logical and just aren't well explained or understood, as well as a number of other working groups such as social clubs and our analog meetups that might be every Friday afternoon. So that there's work in progress on those ones too. All of the Eventbrite links will be available from Friday. Well, they'll be scheduled for starting from Friday next week, and they'll be available shortly. So please check them out. They're all posted through the official social media channels on LinkedIn and Twitter at the moment. And what's coming up on the agenda for next week's community call is a discussion of the initial discussion of the white paper structure, how we've gone about accepting the new members that have come through, access to Jira and Discord. We've had a person volunteer to set up the basic Discord server for LawFi Dao, and some of the goes and woes of setting up the treasury function, including a DAO account with a token exchange and a token custodian, and trying to get a bank account just to be able to more smoothly interact with TradFi and not just be limited to DeFi. Again, just bridging the gap, at least for more DAOs to have the choice and an easier run in establishing their operations, and being more easily able to comply with some of the existing systems, should that be appropriate in the DAO's context. So I'll leave it there. I'm sorry again that due to the technical difficulties, you won't get the richness of the community discussion that occurred this morning, and I hope to see you in the next community call. Thank you. Bye.